Well, here's another Best Picture ranking video. This time, I'll be covering the 2000's winners. As with before, I haven't seen all of the 2000 nominees, but this is just a ranking of the winners, and my opinions on whether the winners deserve to win is based on the films I have seen from their respective years. Here's a list of the nominees I have not seen. So, let's get started. Boy, people weren't kidding when they said Brokeback Mountain was a far superior movie. Crash is such a misguided mess of a film. I liked the movie when I was younger, and even included it in the lyrics of my We Didn't Start the Pictures music video. But believe me, I will not be including it in the new version. Crash reminds me a little bit of Pocahontas, in how both films seem like they're trying to shine a light on racial issues, but do a horrible job at it. I do think Crash is a little better, but that's not saying much. The movie is not 100% awful. There are two scenes that I think work quite well. One is the scene in which John Ryan saves Christine, who he previously molested, from a burning car. Although she is understandably hesitant due to how he behaved previously, he eventually does manage to set her free. It's quite a thought-provoking and tension-filled scene, and it makes you wonder if John does earn redemption through doing it or not. The other is the scene in which Daniel is almost shot by Farhad, but his daughter runs into his arms just beforehand, and he tearfully and frantically checks her for bullet wounds, only to discover she's okay. Adding on from the somewhat intriguing relationship the two have, it does have quite a lot of tension to it, and it is reassuring when we find out she actually survived. Mostly because of these two scenes, some good performances from Don Cheadle, Matt Dillon and Tandy Way Newton, and some genuinely quite good editing, I can ultimately put it above Dances with Wolves and Unforgiven, but that in no way qualifies as a recommendation. The film is very unsubtle and misguided in its approach to racism. From the beginning, you have black friends Anthony and Peter talking about the racism they experience, only to then hold Gene and Rick at gunpoint and steal their car. They do the same thing later on in the movie, only this time it's owned by Cameron. The film doesn't even really address any sub-themes of racism, or have an insightful commentary on racism. And it's full of one-dimensional characters who I barely remember anything about. Sandra Bullock plays Jean, whose car is robbed, and who near the end of the movie falls down the stairs. Bullock isn't terrible in the role, but she really isn't given an interesting character to work with, and as a result, her performance, though through no fault of her own, gets bogged down. Many people say Brokeback Mountain should have won Best Picture over this movie, and while I do love Brokeback Mountain, and I agree it was way better than this misfire, an opinion I have always had, I would have given it to Syriana, a very intriguing thriller with a fantastic performance from George Clooney. The best part of No Country for Old Men is easily Javier Bardem as the villain. He genuinely brings a chilling and or threatening presence to every scene he's in, and the fact that he rarely emotes adds to that chilling nature. As shown by performances like this, and Kevin Spacey's performance in Seven, it works much better with villains than with heroes. But is the movie as a whole deserving of the Best Picture Oscar? I don't think so. The first half of the movie is just kind of slow and tedious, except for the stuff with Bardem. But it does pick up and become more intriguing in the second half, with the chase between Moss and Shigura being legitimately intense. And Josh Brolin and Tommy Lee Jones provide good performances, even if not quite holding a candle to the brilliance of Bardem. It's a well-made movie, and Bardem absolutely deserved Best Supporting Actor, but of the Best Picture nominees I've seen from 2007, I'd put it between the brilliance of Juno and the, in my opinion, boredom of There Will Be Blood, even with Daniel Day-Lewis's fantastic performance. And yet, I don't think Juno is the best film of 2007 either. My personal choice would have been the unnominated Ratatouille, a smart, sophisticated, and artistically put together film from Brad Bird. The Hurt Locker is a great movie. The plot of the film is quite simple, but the tension that the film builds up in how anyone or anything could be deadly to the characters is mostly well done, even if it does go on slightly too long. It's a very well-made movie overall, with an intriguing script, strong technical aspects, particularly the sound, and a superb performance from Jeremy Renner. Do I think it deserved Best Picture? Whether ranking it alongside films I've seen from 2008, when it technically first came out, or 2009, when it came out in America, I don't think so. I would have given the 2009 award to Mary and Max. If you haven't seen it, watch it. It's a fantastic coming-of-age story about the touching friendship between a lonely 8-year-old girl in Australia and a 44-year-old man with Asperger's in New York. You may not want to watch it more than once, but one viewing is a fantastic experience. Chicago is an absolute spectacle of a movie. The writing, the direction, the acting, the choreography, the editing, the cinematography, the visuals, all fantastic. A part of Chicago that I really admire is the style Rob Marshall brings to it. I like how the musical numbers in the film have the setting and aesthetic of a stage performance, which is what this movie was based on, whether they establish a character's backstory, motivations, or inner thoughts. And the cast are superb, with Catherine Zeta-Jones in particular knocking it out the park. I also think the story is really interesting, particularly the rivalry between Roxy and Velma, as well as the character of Roxy's lawyer, Billy Flynn, and how he turns his clients into celebrities to gain public support for them. A theme that remains relevant today. In fact, at the same ceremony this film won Best Picture, known paedophile Roman Polanski won Best Director, a man who has been defended frequently just because he's famous and his work is admired.
The themes of the Best Picture winner, contrasting with the criminal history of the Best Director winner.
He may be a great director, but he's also a fucking creep. While I do consider Chicago a mind-blowing film made by a huge team of very passionate and ambitious people, I would have given Best Picture to Real Women Have Curves. While not nominated for any Oscars, it's just a brilliant film to me that, as well as being intriguing and superbly acted all the way through, also presents a hugely empowering and heartwarming message about loving your body, and has absolutely earned its place in the National Film Registry. $1 Million Baby is a very poignant movie, with superb direction and acting from Clint Eastwood, as well as fantastic performances from Hilary Swank and Morgan Freeman, the latter of whom makes for an intriguing narrator, much like he did with The Shawshank Redemption. One of the things that makes the film so great is its characters, most notably Maggie and Frankie. I love Maggie's strong ambition to become a boxer, knowing that she can convince Frankie to train her, even when he constantly refuses to train a woman. I also think Frankie has a strong character arc, going from refusing to train Maggie, to seeing the merit in her ambition and ability, to actively taking care of her when she becomes paralysed. The ending is very heartbreaking, and leaves you wondering if Frankie made the right decision or not. Did it deserve to win Best Picture? Well, as great as it is, and as much as Hilary Swank and Morgan Freeman deserved their awards, I don't think it deserved Best Picture. I would have given that award to The Incredibles, which remains my favourite Pixar movie. But I will say that $1 Million Baby deserved a nomination at least, and it is definitely worth watching. A Beautiful Mind is both a compelling love story and an interestingly dark look at mental illness, one that is built up in an increasingly dark and intense way. Russell Crowe's performance as John Nash is fantastic, and along with the intense fast-paced editing, you really see the struggles he went through, which leads to a hugely poignant scene in which his wife shows him real things to help him through it. But eventually, Nash learned to ignore his hallucinations, returned to teaching, and went on to win the Nobel Memorial Prize in Economic Sciences. The film has a similar message to that of Forrest Gump, about how you can achieve amazing things in life, even if you have disabilities or mental health issues that present obstacles. And while it is a fantastic movie, I don't think it's the best movie of 2001. While Memento is technically a 2000 movie, it came out in America in 2001, receiving nominations for its screenplay and editing at that ceremony. And I believe that would have been more deserving of Best Picture. But of course, just because I don't think A Beautiful Mind deserved to win, doesn't mean I consider it a bad movie. It's a superbly written, directed, acted, and edited film, and one of the best films of 2001. With all this said, it legitimately shocks me that Akiva Goldsman is credited with writing both this and Batman and Robin. It's become my headcanon that its evil twin wrote the latter film in an evil scheme to tarnish his career. It didn't work out, but he tried.
The heat is on.
I actually rewatched all the Lord of the Rings films for this ranking video. In this situation, the extended editions. The Fellowship of the Ring is a good movie, featuring a fantastic setup, outstanding technical aspects, and solid performances, particularly from Ian McKellen and Christopher Lee. That said, the pacing can be very slow, and I do lose some interest in the second and much of the third hour. The Two Towers I enjoy a lot more. While it can also be a bit slow, it serves as a great middle chapter in the story, maintaining the fantastic technical aspects from the original. In this case, outstanding and barely dated CGI for Gollum, as well as improved action scenes and a great continuation of Frodo's arc. Oh, and probably the greatest line of dialogue in any film ever. But they're not the Best Picture winners. That would be The Return of the King. While Return of the King does also have pacing issues, it takes the chance to flesh out its characters for the last time, particularly Frodo, whose character arc comes to a fantastic and poignant conclusion, and Gollum, who we learn the backstory of, and whose manipulation and greed are expanded on. To some extent, I think Frodo and Gollum's final fight is symbolic. Despite needing to destroy the ring in order to keep the Fellowship safe, Frodo almost gives in to the power of the ring, only for Gollum to track him and bite off his finger for the ring. Frodo essentially gets a small taste of losing his life to the ring, but rejects that power and lives, while Gollum literally hoards the power of the ring and dies with it. And the film maintains the amazing technical aspects and superb performances of the first two movies. While strangely not in the theatrical cut, Christopher Lee's role is brief but present as Saruman in the extended cut, bringing even more intensity to the character before he dies. And Ian McKellen and Hugo Weaving are also fantastic in their major roles.
A problem a lot of people have pointed out is the numerous fake-out endings. And, yeah, it is a bit jarring. It's not that the film has a lot of endings, I understand that,
as they're wrapping up a huge franchise and everything needs closure. It's more that it fades out and in continually, and eventually it becomes annoying. But they are really good endings.
So, did it deserve Best Picture? Well, despite being undoubtedly a huge achievement in filmmaking, I don't think it was the best movie of 2003. I personally would have given it to the film Oldboy, which, despite not even receiving a Best Foreign Language Film nomination, is a fantastic film, featuring an amazing screenplay, superb direction, great performances, and a twist which, despite being dark and disturbing as shit, manages to be both subversive and work in the context of the story. Honestly, the best kind of plot twist. While not the best film of 2003, Return of the King is still a fantastic film, with a lot of passion and effort put into it from its cast and crew. Slumdog Millionaire is a brilliant film. One of the main aspects of the movie I love is the protagonist Jamal. He's a character I sympathise with all the way through, and one I want to see succeed in his life. I also like how he has different goals throughout his life. At the beginning, it seems as though his goal is to prove his innocence and genuine knowledge on Kambanega Kripati, and this essentially leads into the film's non-linear narrative, which, much like Cloud Atlas, Memento, and much of Tarantino's filmography, works in the movie's favour, as Jamal explains how he knows all the answers. In his youth, his goal was to find a better life. As he gets older, his goal becomes to find his love interest Latika, and he went on the game show knowing she watched it. And by the end of the film, he achieves all of his goals, proving his innocence, winning the grand prize on the game show, and finally, winning Latika's heart. And the credits have the superb Jai Ho song number. The cast are superb as well, particularly Dev Patel, Frida Pinto, and Anka Vekal, who, although playing a more minor character than the other two, still strongly conveys the evil side to my mum. Did it deserve to win Best Picture? Well, of the 2008 films I've seen, I'd currently say so. I might change my mind the next time I watch The Dark Knight, but whether or not I do, there's something we ought to thank The Dark Knight and Wall-E for, and that's for prompting the Academy to extend their list of Best Picture nominees to 10, thus paving the way for more animated and superhero films to be nominated. Only 2 animated movies? And how many superhero movies? Just Black Panther? Black Panther isn't even the best MCU film of 2018. While I thought Gladiator had a lot of great things in it on my first viewing, including direction, acting, and technical aspects, the script was what brought it down for me. On rewatch, however, the script is fucking brilliant, as is most of the rest of the movie. The performances from Russell Crowe and Joaquin Phoenix are both phenomenal, and while I do think Tom Hanks should have won Best Actor for Castaway, I'd say Crowe's performance in this movie was a close second, managing to showcase Maximus's devastation over losing his family, and his determination in ranking up to avenging them. But Phoenix's performance as the villain Commodus is probably even better, and Commodus is a superb and empathetic villain, wanting to prove himself worthy to his father, but turning to evil measures to try and accomplish it, including killing him to take over. We then get the scene in which Maximus reveals himself in the Coliseum, and Commodus tries to hide his inner fear, followed by angrily slashing the bust of his father when he realizes his fear proved his father's point about Maximus being more worthy of succeeding him as the Emperor. Phoenix conveys the character's rage, jealousy, and sadism brilliantly. I also like that the movie doesn't hesitate in making its action scenes as intense as possible, right from the beginning, in which we get a brutal and bloody action scene, aided by the fast-paced editing, bleak colour grading, and intense music by Hans Zimmer and Lisa Gerrard, the latter of whom was ignored by the Academy because of some apparent rules that I can't find anywhere. Do I think the movie is perfect? No. Most of the side characters don't hold a candle to the 2 main characters, but they're not terrible. Do I think it deserved Best Picture? Well, in the mindset that Memento qualified for the 2001 Oscars and not the 2000 ones, I'd say so of the movies I've seen from that year. It's a fantastic accomplishment in filmmaking, made by a hugely talented team of cast and crew members. The Departed is a fantastic movie. The story is intriguing and features some pretty amazing twists, and quite a lot of suspense is built up over the course of the movie. I also like how Matt Damon's character Colin Sullivan is detestable from the beginning, and maintains a detestable personality throughout the film. Something that I owe mostly to the character writing, but also to Damon's performance. And speaking of performances, they're all around fantastic, with Leonardo DiCaprio really conveying Billy's deteriorating state of mind, Mark Wahlberg conveying Dignam's increasing hatred for Colin, and Jack Nicholson bringing a threatening presence to Frank Costello. Although Wahlberg was the only actor to get an Oscar nomination, I think Damon and Nicholson should have also got nominations. A moment where the film's superb technical aspects get a moment to shine through is the scene in which Billy chases Colin. The cinematography, as well as providing beautiful shots, also works to show the chase from the perspectives of both characters, as well as how Billy locates Colin, and the fast-paced editing showing the increasing intensity of the scene. Though I'll say a moment where the technical aspects don't shine so well.
Oh shit! A
is the CGI on the rat at the end. Hashtag yikes. Did it deserve Best Picture? I'd say so. As much as I loved United 93 and thought that film deserved so many more nominations than just Best Director and Best Film Editing, I do think The Departed was a deserved winner of the 2006 films I've seen.